welcome back to 60 Minutes About Biology. And in this episode, we're talking about organelles and their functions with
me, Carlos Alvarado, and my colleagues Paula Chow and Isabella Rivera.
So what are the functions of the cell membrane?
The cell membrane protects and supports the contents within the cell, and with it being selectively permeable, it allows certain materials in, like oxygen, water, and carbon dioxide, and then it lets certain substances out, like glucose and amino acids.
Based on your knowledge, what is the nucleus and some of its functions?
The nucleus is the most important structure in the animal and the plant cell, and it is the main control center, and it kind of acts like a brain.
What is the rough endoplasmic reticulum and what does it do?
The endoplasmic reticulum is where chemical reactions happen to produce proteins. In specific, the rough endoplasmic reticulum is given its name because ribosomes attach to its surface to make it appear rough. Chemical reactions on the rough ER produce proteins. Each protein has a different function.
So what is the difference between the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum?
The smooth endoplasmic reticulum doesn't have ribosomes on its surface, so it looks smooth, and it's involved in chemical reactions that produce lipid components in the cell, and it's involved in chemical reactions that detoxify chemicals, and by detoxifying chemicals, it helps the cell remove harmful substances.
What is the Golgi apparatus and what does it do?
The Golgi apparatus acts as a packaging and sorting system for the cell. Proteins that are produced by the rough ER are then transferred to the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus then packages proteins into membrane-bound structures called vesicles. Can you explain to me what ribosomes are and some of their functions?
Yes, so ribosomes are involved in the process of making proteins, which is called protein synthesis, and they can be found floating freely or attached to the rough ER, and they carry out instructions for the DNA. Can you talk to us about lysosomes?
Lysosomes are small organelles that contain enzymes and break down proteins, lipids, and carbs for the cell to use. They act as a garbage disposal, and they also break down viruses and bacteria.
What is the mitochondria and its functions?
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and it takes in the nutrients, breaks them down, and creates energy for molecules to use. The biochemical processes of the cell are known as cellular respiration.
Can you explain what chloroplasts are and their functions?
Chloroplasts transform sunlight energy into chemical energy that is stored as food in the process of photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are like a solar power plant for the cell. They are found in plants as well as algae.
What is the cytoplasm and its functions?
The cytoplasm is the protoplasm of a cell outside the cell nucleus. It's the gel-like material plus the organelles outside the nucleus and inside the cell membrane. It's responsible for the shape of the cell, and it helps fill out the cell and keep the organelles in its place.
What are centrioles and some of their functions?
Centrioles are made of microtubules and are involved with self-division by forming the spindle fibers that attach to the chromosomes.
What is a cytoskeleton and its purpose?
The cytoskeleton is a network of protein fibers within the cytoplasm, and it gives the cell shape and supports the organelles. There are 3 types of fibers that make up the cytoskeleton: microtubules, intermediate fibers, and microfilaments. Can you tell me about peroxisomes and what they do?
Peroxisomes have 2 functions. They break down fatty acids to be used for forming membranes and for fuel for respiration, and they transfer hydrogen from compounds to oxygen to create hydrogen peroxide and convert hydrogen peroxide into water. What is the difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells?
Eukaryotic cells contain a membrane-bound organelles, including a nucleus. Eukaryotes can also be single-celled or multi-celled. Bacteria are an example of prokaryotes. Prokaryotes also don't contain a nucleus.
Thank you for watching this week's episode about organelles and their functions. Stay tuned for next week.
Bye!